What's up, guys? So I'm here at YouTube Space LA with a lot of awesome content creators, YouTubers. What do we call each other nowadays?
Filmmakers.
Filmmakers. Yeah, filmmakers.
Our tours.
Just kind of want to share some ideas with you guys, how to grow your channel, just stuff about monetization, sponsorship, a little bit about everything. And so hopefully you guys enjoyed this video.
Cool, so let's start with camera tech, camera gear. This is the second time we're having this conversation. We didn't roll. So let's just talk about like, what's a weird, funny thing that's happened to you filming one time? Like that you just like forgot to roll audio?
This?
Or this is the worst?
All the time. I mean, like sometimes like you plug the mic jack and the headphone jack, or like, who can relate to that?
I actually,
yeah, go ahead.
I had a really bad one. It was back when I was taking any job that I could find, and it was a reality show for E! I'm not gonna say the name of the show, and it was my first time doing a reality show, so like they're in your ear, like telling you what to do, and she's saying, push in, and I didn't know if that meant zoom in or walk in, so I'm like doing a little bit of both. And then there was one scene that was like pivotal, where it like all came down to this. It was this one person, this little girl's mom was kind of just freaking out and just going crazy, screaming, yelling. And then in between the takes, I had been hitting record and unrecord. And maybe you see where this is going. And the producer actually told me, she's like, are you like hitting record, unrecord? Don't do that, just keep recording. And then the next take, I did it again, just habit. And then I missed the take. And I didn't say anything.
So you got fired, and that's why you're doing YouTube.
I totally got fired. Yeah. And that's why I'm here.
So we talk a lot about gear, I think, on all of our channels, maybe Matt less than, because you're focused not on the filmmaker space, I would say.
Yeah, I'm gonna get there eventually, but I kind of, right now, I just have a pretty strict focus on minimalism.
But you do a lot of tech stuff, you work at a rental house, so that's a lot of gear that you're talking about. You guys talk about gear and equipment. So it's a big piece of making videos, and I wanna talk about gear a little bit first. I wanna talk about small, lightweight, cheaper cameras versus bigger, expensive cameras. What are the pros and cons? What do you guys use, and why?
I use a C200, and I feel that it's like a compromise between a very rigged out cinema camera compared to like a smaller DSLR, you know, I guess you can call it little point and shoot with photography, or a hybrid camera. I like it because it has all of the things that I need. It has a great menu system, great autofocus, XLR inputs, and it's still in a very manageable, you know, compact camera where I can put it on a gimbal still. It might be at the maximum weight of a, you know, smaller size gimbal, but it just works for me really well, and it has everything that I need.
And Jason, you use smaller cameras?
Yeah, exactly. The Sony a7R III and the Sony a7 III. So I'm shooting on that right now. And like Armando was saying, like these are like the hybrid cameras, you know, the DSLR mirrorless cameras. You can shoot both photos and videos, and that's sort of what I grew up on. You know, I started off with like a Canon T3i, and I just kind of stuck with that form factor. Never really have upgraded to like a cinema camera, like an FS5 or 7 or C300 or C200.
What keeps you from going beyond?
Probably like those are a little bit more expensive, right? Like they're like what, $5,000–$6,000. While right now I'm like getting to like the $3,000 range for the camera. So. And
then there's that law of diminishing return. Just because you spend more money doesn't mean you're gonna get equal amount. So I think for him, you do a lot of weddings, right?
Yeah.
So I think the hybrid between photography and video for him, I think it suits probably.
Yeah, it gives me the flexibility, you know, if I can do wedding photos or I can do wedding videos. But at the same time, you know, when you're running and gunning at a wedding, you want to keep, you know, something lightweight. Keep the weight down. Even shooting YouTube videos outside, you know, you want to be lightweight, not big production cameras.
Right. I think if you're a freelance filmmaker, there can be a benefit to having like a camera, like a cinema camera, because then you get rented your day rate, and then a lot of times they will also rent out your camera and pay for your camera. But if you're producing your own original content, this has been something that I've been exploring as I've moved from freelance to making videos on my own, is I don't care what it looks like, what behind the scenes look like. I might be using like a paper lantern to light my scene, but if that works, if it looks good, it doesn't matter. But I'm not gonna bring that to a paid client shoot. Right. You know, I'm not gonna use a $20 DIY setup for a paid client.
And Josh, you do modeling and that sort of stuff, so there's a different perception depending on the camera?
Like yeah.
Over time?
So, I used to have a big Canon XF305. People took me a lot more seriously.
Like you put it on your shoulder?
You could, but it was more like handheld. But it was a pretty beefy camera, and people thought it was just more professional. They thought I was in the industry and all that stuff. And then as soon as I switched to Sony and started using SLR cameras instead, people didn't really look at me the same way. Yeah.
Damn.
I mean, we made a video about cheap cameras versus expensive cameras, and in the comments, people are like, "Who cares what camera you use?" Like, but honestly, people that are paying you tens of thousands of dollars,
They don't want you to show up. I mean,
with the
like
camera
we said
they
in the
have.
video. Yeah, with the camera that they have in their like backpack, that they're like, oh, I go and take photos of that. Why can't I just shoot this? So there is that perception of like, you want to look professional. You're getting paid a lot of money to do this. You want to look like you're worth what you're getting paid, which is sort of what we got to in the video. And like, with some of those bigger cameras, you can get similar image quality, but some of the features and the flexibility that you get with those cameras is going to be different.
Yeah, like for example, we talked about early in the show, we forgot to hit record with the audio, right? One thing that C200 has, which I love and it saved me a couple times, is you can record 2 types of volume settings. So you can have one a little bit higher and another one a little bit lower. So there's been times where, just like right now, we're testing, everything seems good, and all of a sudden the audio peaks. So it's okay, I have another soundtrack that I can go back to and fall back. Also dual SD card recording. So when you talk about professional work, you have to have these backup redundancies, exactly, so that you don't compromise a project. So I think I'm not saying the more money you spend, the more stuff you're gonna get, but typically when you start spending more money on cinema cameras, for the most part, not all of them, they have a lot of features that can save a project or a video.
Yeah, I'm less of a I need to have the latest camera, but I know that there's a balance there, because if you track back to the first camera that you ever purchased, if you were still using that camera now, like nobody would watch your videos. At least for me, like I was using a Sony Handycam. It was, maybe I don't even think it was a 720p. It was like SD. So there is a progression. Like you do need to know when to invest. And I think early on, if you can pay your bills at least, you want to make sure that you can invest in I don't know, I feel like I invested when I didn't have the money. Like I had to borrow money from my parents. I'm like, I really want to get this 5D, but I don't have $3,000 to spend. And then they spotted me the money, I paid them back. But for me, those jumps in the beginning probably gave me the best return, because then I started to get paid for my work. I was able to build a business. I got really better at the craft. But it wouldn't have started if I didn't make at least one upgrade.
And that diminishing returns, you also don't get certain things beyond a certain level. You go to a Red or an Ari or these really high-end cinema cameras, and you have to pay even more to have audio inputs, or it's not stabilized, it's heavier, you need bigger gimbals. And so I know you really like small cameras, Jason, because weddings, you're on your feet 8 to 12 hours, you're using gimbals a lot of the time, so like it would be impractical for you to use a Red or something, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's just be too heavy. We already complained, like, holding the gimbal like 8 to 10 hours, and just like, oh my god, our forearm is dying. So I can't imagine using like a dual handle with like a bigger camera. It just
So that's why I have a
it would just
Brazilian
wear us
thumb.
down.
It's a gimbal.
Yeah, there you go.
What else is like a pro of these smaller cameras right now?
I think low light capabilities on these cameras. Cinema's cameras were never really known to have great low light. For the most part, these mirrorless cameras are just taking over. Sometimes I've shot stuff at ridiculous ISO levels, and I know for a fact that no other camera I would have been able to get that clean footage. And even if you put it through like a denoiser, it looks fantastic. So that's one area where I think these hybrid mirrorless cameras really shine, is the low light capability.
Yeah, what I really like so for my podcast, it's 3-camera setup, and it's in a very tight space. And I've actually tried the GH5. I bought it, unpacked it, set it up, and like the quality looked great, but I was like, I couldn't get the depth, and the room looked way smaller. So I'd have to use like a 16mm lens to be able to get even close to the shot I was getting with the Sony a7S II. So for me, like that was big. I'm shooting in a tight space. I need a full frame camera, and there's only so many options you can use for that.
I shot up to 40,000 ISO on the A7S. I got clean footage out of that.
What were you filming?
No, it was just something.
Were you like peeping on somebody?
No, it was just outside. It was just when I. This is the Mark I. This is when I first got it. I was just doing some test footage with it. I shot up to 40,000 ISO like outside, and that camera picks up better in low light than my own eyes do. Yeah. It's insane.
Do you think like people get lazy then? Like I've definitely heard people say that is that then you just won't light
You don't have to
anything.
light it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
I still feel like it's better to light something because
No,
I
yeah.
used to think that. I used to think like, oh yeah, A7S2, we got it. You know, we shoot wedding receptions. But then I just like look back at the footage. I'm like, man, this looks so flat. You know, the couple blended into the wall because they're orange. The wall is orange. I'm just like, now I started rolling in with lights. Yeah,
But if you're like
I'm rolling with the lights.
if you're like a traveling filmmaker or vlogger, you do sometimes need that versatility.
Yeah, versatility.
But yeah, when you have the gear available to you, definitely
Yeah,
light
like
it up.
I feel like the low light capability definitely comes in clutch. You
Yeah.
know, when you need it, like if you have absolutely like no other way, then that's fine. But I wouldn't completely rely
yeah,
on it.
if you have the gear, use it. Yeah.
Well, to kind of piggyback on what you said about full frame, one of the features that I love on just Sony cameras is the fact that you can go from full frame to Super 35. That is like amazing feature that, being able to do that. Basically, a lot of
Double up
people
on your focal lengths.
Right. Well, not only that, just a lot of people are coming from like maybe an A6300. They invested a lot on APS-C lenses. So if they sell their A6300, it doesn't mean they have to go out and buy full frame glass. They might have a couple of APS-C lenses they can just adapt to their A7 III or A7R III, and they're still able to use those lenses. And then whenever they have money, they can upgrade to full frame glass. But I think that's a really great feature on the Sony.
That's actually one of the biggest reasons why I jumped in the first place. I was shooting with the GH4, Panasonic GH4. I was adapting quite a bit of Canon glass, the Tokina 11-16, a popular one, a Sigma 18-35. They're both APS-C lenses, so when I found out I can use those lenses without any sort of vignetting on the A7R II, I was like, this is it. It sold me. And it shoots 4K in Super 35 mode, so why not?
Yeah, and the one thing that I'm still pissed about is that it's like, is it a European tax law where you can't record for more than whatever minutes, like 30 minutes?
Yeah.
Like, can they, but it's 2018, like, you gotta change that by now.
You know what I heard next year, wasn't it 2019, that
They are?
Yeah, it's gonna expire.
Okay, so this video, you have to take it down. After 2019, it's not gonna make any
back
sense.
then, we
back
had that
in my day.
30-minute recording.
As long as I get a bunch of privacy policy emails like, every year for the rest of my life
Sure.
for GDPR.
Yeah.
So this conversation makes me think of how camera brands will limit features. Some don't. I would say Sony does an amazing job of putting every feature into every level of camera, from $1,000 to whatever high price. They put log in there, they put slow motion, even if it looks like crap on the lower end. Like, they just give you all the options, and then you can figure out what you need for the most part. There's some things they don't give you. But a company like Canon will specifically not include features on the C200, for example, which can shoot RAW and can shoot 8-bit MP4, but nothing in between because they don't want to cannibalize. So what do you guys think about camera companies and how poorly they treat us? With this amazing technology they spend millions of dollars researching and making.
I think limitation could be good for a reason, because a lot of times I see like Sony does that. They give you everything and the kitchen sink, But at the same time, I feel like it also hinders the camera. Here's the thing. Sometimes when I grab my A7 III, I still miss like my 5D. Well, I still have it. My 1DX Mark II. I still would rather shoot with it because I feel it's more refined. So rather than, yes, I have it, but it's not polished, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Whereas Canon, they'll give it to you, but they're giving it to you, but it's 100% polished. Like, it works.
Every time.
Every time, right. Where like, yeah, you may have S-Log 3 on the RX 100, but it looks like crap. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or other
it
features.
overheats in 5 minutes
Right,
in 4K.
Exactly, or it overheats. And at the same time, for a user experience, which I think is really important, for a user experience, it's no good. So I'd rather take the non-flip screen on the 1DX, Mark II. I'd rather have all that, but knowing that when I pick up that camera, it's going to work every single time. And when I get my image and I see it on camera, or it's going to be on video, computer, tongue twister there. When I see it on video, I know it's going to be 100% really good. Same thing like A7 III. I just picked it up. I think the slow motion's good, but it doesn't compare to Canon. Like, I look at it and it's like, yeah, it's good, like it's usable, but no way does it touch Canon's quality, I think.
Talking trash.
All right, dude, let's go.
One second.
Give them more bruises.
I know, right?
Yeah, I think that's what it comes down to, though, and that's why we have these conversations, and that's why people love talking about gear, is because of the differences in the cameras and compare. Like, I just love watching raw comparison videos, like side by side, the same exact lenses, different cameras, and getting to see what the difference is. And obviously when it comes down to the story and blah, 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 focus on the story. Yeah, that's obvious.
It's a whole different conversation.
Right, it's a totally different conversation. But I think that's why we have to be a little bit more thoughtful about the gear we're using. And if you have an unlimited budget, yeah, buy every camera that comes out, whatever. But most of us have a finite budget. We need to make sure we're spending our money in the right ways. And that's where doing a little bit of research and also having a good return policy helps.
Yeah.
Here's a little bit of like a conspiracy. I feel like with Sony, especially, I have a Sony A9, no picture profiles. I think that Sony, maybe even Canon does this. The hardware is there, but they specifically limit that hardware. So I feel like our cameras that we have right now, like A7R3, A7 III, they're capable of so much more, but they're limited by the firmware. And they're doing that on purpose. I feel that's a little bit of a conspiracy. I think that's what's happening.
I mean, that's what like he was talking about with the Canon C200 is it has like the low end 8-bit MP4 that you can do to SD card,
Yeah.
but then there's nothing in between up to recording like RAW.
Yeah, the
So
hardware
is there. The processing can
Yeah.
handle it.
So that's just my thing about Sony specifically.
Yeah, I feel like they do cripple certain aspects, but like not as much as Canon. I feel like they cripple a lot, but like Caleb
So they're
said,
evil, just not as evil.
yeah. But like you guys been saying, I'm sure you guys have so much experience with the Canon that you guys do find some of the features on it polished, even though they don't have certain things like 4K or.
Right.
I loved my 5D Mark II, dude. That was my first video DSLR.
Me too.
That camera was.
Yep.
If I didn't sell it, I would still be using it today. I was in love with that camera. I switched to Sony because Sony was just taking over video for me at the time when I made that switch in like 2012 or 2014. I made the switch to Sony because of the video.
Yo, that camera, I don't know if you've like seen it recently, but compared to the Sonys, it's so big. I'm like, holy
it's
cow, this
massive.
thing is
It's like
really
a
big.
brick, yeah.
But it was an amazing camera. Like wore that thing to the bone for like 5 years.
No.
But on the flip side too, if Sony's giving you all these features for somebody who doesn't have a lot of money and wants to get, their bang for their buck, you can't go wrong. I mean, I think that's the flip side of it. I mean, yes, Sony's going to give you everything, even though some things might not be the best. But as a consumer, I think like for example, the A7 III, I still look at it and I'm thinking like, wow, even if I would resell that camera in a year or two, like how much lower can it get from $2,000? That's pretty cheap for a camera that does all of these features. Like even in a year, if I wanted to sell it, I'm pretty sure I could still get $1,700 for it. So I'm not
Depends
losing.
on how many more models Sony
Right.
puts out.
That's the other thing.
A7 IV coming.
Right.
Do you guys,
$1,000.
do you guys buy used gear or do you always buy new camera gear when you're?
I always buy new.
Yeah, unfortunately, because Sony's like rolling out with their new lenses and cameras, I
Because
have to buy
because
new.
he pre-orders it before it comes out, then it's
That
always
too.
It
new.
doesn't even exist.
I bought my Canon XF305 used, and I had so many problems with that camera. I annoyed Canon so much with warranty returns and all that stuff. They ended up sending me a brand new XF305 because luckily that used camera was still under warranty. And ever since I had such a bad experience with Canon because of that, I'm never going to buy used again.
Yeah,
I always buy the main things
Yeah.
new. So camera bodies I like to buy new. Even lenses I like to buy new most of the time. If I can like check it out in person, I'll buy it used. But other things, I'm not that concerned. Like I'd buy a tripod used.
Oh,
I'd
yeah.
buy
like a Movi
Yeah.
Pro.
yours that you're trying to sell.
Yeah, if anybody wants to buy a Movi Pro.
Yeah, shameless plug
Yeah.
right there.
I'm glad I got that plug in.
That's perfect.
link will be there.
It only took you like 10 or 15 to wait and to get it in there.
That's
Perfect.
the whole reason why I brought up that question. No, but actually, I mean, I'm like as a minimalist, I think I probably should buy used gear because it's reusing things and you're not, just adding to the landfill. But I buy new for the same reason, but also because of the investment. I know that, definitely when I was doing freelance work and making good money from it, I'm like, this camera's going to pay for itself in a couple jobs. So it doesn't make sense, especially when you're going on a professional shoot. Like the risk of blowing it, and like if it's a $5,000, $10,000 shoot, you can't redo that if it was a used camera that happened to be broken. Shitty. Yeah.
How do you guys feel about always having the new cameras? I know that there's features that are always new. There's the marketing, there's the advertising, there's people like us that talk about the new cameras because we know people are interested in that. Maybe they want to get the views. Affiliate income is a part of our businesses as well. To when people recommend, they click their link. So where do you guys view that dichotomy of providing value and showing people the new gear, the new equipment, but also trying to share, like, use what you have, or that sort of approach? Big question.
I would say for my channel personally, I do want to stay on top of the game and have the newest and latest gear to kind of talk about it, kind of have like a new standard to see like how the older cameras measure up. But yeah, there are people who get pretty mad because they're like, why you just like talk about the 6500, let's say an older model. You talk about the 6500, now you're talking about this newest thing. So they always feel like they want to share the same equipment as the YouTuber they're following, making sure that what they got isn't outdated anymore. But for us, I guess, and for tech or anything like that, we have to stay on top of the game. You know, we have to get the latest and greatest to like kind of talk about. You know, it's a hot topic. A lot of people, there's a lot of buzz going on, and we want to stay relevant to the conversation.
So then, yeah, because you guys are like educators and talking about like film and tech and all that, so that totally makes sense. What kind of cameras do you recommend if people are just getting started out? Like, is there like the go-to camera that you recommend? Because I mainly ask this because people ask me all the time, and I'm like, I don't know, because I don't use those cameras that are for people just getting started out.
I think it all depends on budget. I mean, you can ask anybody that question and they'll say, I have $500, I have $1,000, I have $1,500, I have $2,000. And then you have to think about lens too. So it's just a really hard, very difficult question to answer because it's just not the body that you're talking about. It's lens, accessories. So it
Even
really,
lights and audio stuff too. It's not even just the camera.
Right,
It's
so
all of those
it always
different
comes down
aspects.
to what is your budget? Like what's the most you're willing to spend? And without knowing that exact number, it's really hard to throw a recommendation.
But then even like what you're shooting too, because we were saying like difference
what
between
features do you
vlogging
need?
and working for a
Yeah, if
client.
you're
or shooting,
vlogging
right?
or doing YouTube, like I would go Canon with a flip screen and face tracking autofocus because those things can save you.
The most important thing
Like
would be the flip
what
screen.
the features are or something like that. Or Sony if you want to do slow motion at like a lower price versus photography or hybrid like Sony, I would say.
Yeah, are you trying to do both, or are
Yeah.
you just trying to stick with video, or like?
It's one of the things that's like very specific to that individual's needs, I think at least. It's not just one, like there's no one size fits all. Like this is the camera
totally
to get,
agree.
this is the lens to get, run, make YouTube videos, make money, quit your job. Like there's none of that.
Like it's in a lot of ways it's a little bit riskier than like say like picking out which coffee brand you like, because we're talking thousands of dollars. But you can still sell your camera if it's not working out, if you don't like it. Like that's one of the coolest things is that like I can use a camera for 3 years, get so much value out of it. It pays for itself like 20, 30 times over, and then I can sell it and still make some money back from it after 3 years.
I will say this though, I think anything that Sony makes right now, starting from their lowest end to even their highest FS7, I think you really can't go wrong. I think Sony right now offers the best value for your money. I really believe that. So if you want the best value for your money, go with Sony.
Yeah, I mean, I almost switched like 2 years ago, but the reason I didn't was I wanted to move to red and use my Canon glass.
Right.
And my wife also was so familiar with using the Canon cameras for her photography business that she didn't want to switch either. Even though I showed her,
Canon brother.
yeah, even though I showed her eye tracking autofocus, which I think is one of the most amazing photo features that they've developed at Sony. But yeah, thinking about that, like how people make money on YouTube and how some of us make money on YouTube too, of talking about tech, talking about the latest things, having the affiliate income, companies giving us stuff for free, companies paying us to promote things. How do you guys navigate that landscape of talking about tech, sharing the latest things, and being open and honest about who gave it to you or if you paid for it and that sort of thing?
So right now, and maybe Armando can chime in on this as well, but I just feel weird when I have a company send me something. Like I'm sort of like attached to it. Like I have to make a review on it because they sent it to me. And I don't like that. I don't like being obligated to make a review. I mean, like these last 2 years, I've been starting to experiment with like brand deals or like asking for like the higher price items to come in for free for review, but it's just, I'm being bind to it, and I don't like that. I'd rather spend like that $700 or $1,000 just so I can own it and kind of make the review on my own term and release it on my own term, rather than, hey, you only got 1 or 2 weeks to crank out this review, so put it out there. I feel weird because like I focus more on like the user experience, right? And I don't really like to judge an equipment after I only used it for like 48 hours. So that to me is not a review. That's just like, oh, first impressions. So it's just kind of weird.
I had a company send me a crane or a jib arm, 8-foot jib arm, and while I was doing the review for it, what's really upsetting is that company wanted me to be biased. They really wanted me. But here's the thing, as I was using the jib, it was falling apart during the shoot, so I couldn't be biased because there was footage of screws falling out of the jib as I was using it. So I try to be as unbiased as possible for all my reviews, but for this one specifically, I had to tell people that there was just no quality management, quality control on this arm, on this jib arm. The company never reached out to me again. But I don't feel bad, because if they make a low quality product, then no one should be buying from you in the first place. But it was really embarrassing because you could see like the main screws, like the center part where the camera was mounted, screws are falling off during the whole entire video. Like I lost 3 major screws. It was bad. It was really bad.
Wow.
I think it's an area where it's difficult because there's a lot of YouTubers out there, and not everybody treats reviews or sponsor deals the same. So a lot of times, even our audience has a misconception, like, oh, you just got paid to do that, and it's a sponsor deal, so of course you're going to talk good about it. So for me, the way I do it is like I'll never review a product that's a sponsor deal, and by law you have to disclose that it's a sponsor deal. So for me, any sponsor deals, and you can go back even several years back, this company sponsored this video, but rather than doing a review, I usually just talk features about that particular items. Like, for example, if like there's a company that sends me over, let's say DJI sends me their latest, their gimbal. What is it? The Ronin S.
Yeah.
If they send it over, I won't make a video about like a review on the Ronin S. I'll just do like maybe top 5 things that you can do with a Ronin S.
That's smart.
Yeah, so for me, that's one way I navigate. I'll still say like, I want to thank Ronin for sending this out to me. And if you guys buy one, these are 5 cool things that you can do with this gimbal. So it comes off less, abrasive, or it's not so like
Pushing the product.
pushing.
You're just-
Right.
yeah.
It's just more like, look at this, you can do
just
this.
featuring it,
Right, you're
yeah.
just featuring.
Yeah.
Also, my rule, and I've lost a lot of money, several $100,000, is I don't align with companies that I don't believe in. So
Yeah.
for me, it's like, if I'm going to work with a brand, it's something that I truly would A, buy their product, or B, I believe in their, because a lot of times there's products that I didn't even know existed, and I was like, whoa, this is really cool. Like, I'm glad you actually reached out to me. Like, for sure, let's work out a deal. So for me, I will never do a sponsor deal unless I truly believe like it aligns with my channel. So that's one way I kind of, but I don't do reviews. No, any paid stuff, any sponsor deals, we'll never do a review, because then you have to be biased.
Yeah, and I think that's like the long game, and that's what we should be doing. We shouldn't be in it for just the quick buck, just trying to like make money as quick as we can, because you're trying to build trust with your audience, and that's we were talking a little bit about transparency, like letting people know if it's an advertisement, if it's not, if somebody gave you this for free or not. I think that in terms of monetizing within YouTube, I think a lot of YouTubers see themselves as just that, YouTubers, and you should start to think a little bit bigger in terms of I'm a business owner or I'm an entrepreneur, and build platforms and an audience outside of it. So whether it's creating a podcast or having a mailing list, other ways that you can create money, because I don't monetize my videos, not yet, and I probably never will, just because of the lack of control. And
And
I'm
by
also
monetize, you mean turn ads on.
turn the ads on, and that's, I talk a lot about like how advertising is a little bit can negatively influence our lives. So I want more control over that. Maybe I'll do sponsorships and be very thoughtful about it. But the way that I look at it is that you could do that, you could do advertisements, and when you're creating a lot of content, that's the easiest way to make money. Or you could develop other kinds of content that you can sell, exclusive content, courses, and then instead of using an advertisement or a sponsorship, we can pitch our own stuff. So you're adding more value, and then it cycles back. You're going to lose a lot of money, like you said, and but that's the long game, and I think that's what we should do. We should try to figure out how much is enough. Do we need to, if I do twice as many ads on this podcast, I'll make twice as much money, but also your audience might get a little bit pissed off.
Yeah, this whole year I've kind of held back so much on doing paid sponsored stuff compared to last year. I didn't feel that I wanted to go that direction. I wanted just more of a clean slate, more of stuff that I want to do, unless a brand or the brand that I'm working with is one that I really, really want to work with, and I wouldn't move forward with that.
No, I like the positioning of not treating it as a review, not treating it as you bought the thing.
Right.
I think where I get frustrated is seeing people that will title and thumbnail something that I know is probably sponsored or they've been given something, and they'll title it in a way that's like, you need to have this or have to have this thing.
Right.
And then to me, you become a salesperson for the company, but maybe the people watching it don't really know that.
Right.
And so that's where I think that gray area can happen for sure.
And I think as a content creator, like if you really think about that, rather than becoming a salesman, let the product do the job in selling it itself. So going back to that whole gimbal idea, if I make a cool video on stuff that you can do with a gimbal, and the audience sees that, automatically they're gonna be like, I wanna do that with my footage. I wanna buy this gimbal. So you don't really have to sell it. If a product is good enough, it will sell itself. And a lot of times, like when I do camera reviews, like especially with like Sony stuff, it's like, here's the B-roll footage I shot. And I just let the footage do the talking. And then a lot of times, like, this is incredible. Like, I remember a friend of mine, he actually called me the other day. He's like, this was a long time though. He's like, I bought the A7S II because of your low light test video that you did. He's like, that was the only reason I bought it. Because I thought that was the most incredible thing. Because I was just flipping through the ISO going up. He's like, I bought that camera because of that. So, and if you go back and watch that video, I did no talking at all. I just literally said, I'm doing an ISO test, and I was like 100, 200, 320, 400, and I just kept going up. Video was done. And I sold several cameras because of that. I think that's what they say, the proof is in the pudding, right?
Yeah.
So.
What are you supposed to find in the pudding? Like
Chocolate.
chocolate? Good enough proof for me. How about saying negative things in videos about gear, equipment, whatever? Like, obviously yours was falling apart. Your screws were loose, but
It is tough. I mean, you don't want to trash like a brand, if you want to maintain a good relations with them. So I'd say my policy is if it's like really, really bad and people have to know, I'll say it, but I won't go AWOL in the video and be like, this brand is, just like cursing them out. I just be like, yeah, this one, maybe avoid, don't, I wouldn't like.
do you reach out to the company ever?
Yeah, I would try and say like, hey, it's not.
Hey, this isn't working, or
Yeah.
like your gimbal's
Yeah.
totally messed. Like, what am I doing wrong? Or
It's like, am I doing something wrong, or is there actually something wrong?
Yeah.
with it?
But then there's also other things where it may not work for you. Like I'll give you an example. Keep going back to the gimbal, the Ronin S. They have the little follow focus. Like maybe for me that follow focus compared to something like Zhiyun's might be a little too small. Like, oh, this little follow focus is small, because Zhiyun's is like a real more larger follow focus. I could see that as a negative. Like, I don't really like their follow focus, but that's just me. What if you like it? What if you like the smaller form factor? So sometimes I think like some of the negatives, unless it's something like, you recently reviewed a lens where it had like autofocus issues. That is a major issue, because it doesn't matter what you do. It's
not a
basically,
preference
yeah,
thing,
it's not
yeah,
a preference thing. It's a
mechanical thing,
real
yeah.
issue. But sometimes I see people nitpick at things like, oh, I didn't really like this, but it's more of a, well, that's kind of your opinion. Maybe somebody else might,
Yeah.
So I think
it
you
comes
gotta
down
be
to
careful.
preference, right? It comes down to
Right.
preference. You can say like, oh, this is something that I don't like, but
Right.
maybe other people will like. I think that is completely fine.
Right.
But when it's like let's say the lens you're talking about, the autofocus sucks, and I'm just blasting it, I'm just making a video where I'm just completely trashing it. I don't think that's something that I would
absolutely.
personally do. I would just be like, hey, this is a negative that I saw that.
Yeah, it's also like you're building a reputation too. So I mean, it's you could say whatever you want, and I think it also comes down to being like a good person. And even though we're talking about brands,
Yeah.
there are people that pour their hearts into these products that are behind it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So just like I wouldn't like throw trash at somebody in a YouTube comment, like I'll just throw them an upside down smiley face. The same thing with like a brand. Like you have to let people know what's up, but then at the same time, you don't have to be a dick about it.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. I guess that's the better way of putting it.
what about current just YouTube trends or like stuff people do? Like, do you guys enjoy the vlogging format? What do you think about too much slow motion, like as a crutch, but also to make stuff immediately cinematic and stretch your B-roll out 5 times longer than what you actually recorded? Like,
Zoom transitions.
yeah, so like,
Oh my god! Yeah.
or like
Yeah.
Yeah, I still do those. Okay?
Yeah. No, it's like that's the one thing that I noticed about, because I was coming from not really a YouTube consumer, but then there's all these different kind of styles, and then for me it's been experimenting and being like, all right, maybe let me try vlogging, let me try like some whip pans, and let me see like how I can add some of these creative elements to it. And then, of course, it's always coming back to and finding your own particular style. So some things work well for people that wouldn't work well for me.
I went through a creative slump like literally a couple months ago where I didn't know what to do. I was just like, man, I'm just kind of stuck in a rut, you know? And I feel that a lot of it is the influence from other YouTubers. Got to the point where I just kind of like unsubscribed, nothing personal against any YouTuber. I didn't want to be influenced by anybody because I went back and started looking at some of the footage that I used to do even like 6, 7 years ago, even before this whole YouTube craze. And I look at this and I tell myself, wow, like I can't believe I shot this. Like this is good stuff, even in today's like terms or how people are doing stuff. And I just think that we see a lot of creators like Peter McKinnon. Nothing against him, his stuff is really top notch. But you start to want to incorporate his style into your videos, and I think it really, I don't know, it just kind of puts a creative block. Because that's not your style, but you're trying to mimic that style. So I think the best thing to do is just literally, if you want to become a YouTuber or just a content creator, or however people want to say it nowadays, is just really stay away from the noise and just do your thing. Really. And I know some people like to follow creators, and that's fine, but just try and stay away because a lot of times you're going to be influenced, regardless if you say, no. Because oh, that's a cool transition, and I want to do that. I'm going to go buy that LUT pack or the cinematic stuff. So,
buy a drone for
right. So for the longest, like, I want to say 3 or 4 months, I just kind of cleaned myself from the YouTube-ness.
That's a smart idea. I should try that too. Because like sometimes, maybe it's an accident, like maybe you accidentally mimicked it like another YouTuber like Peter McKinnon, and then people are like, you're copying Peter McKinnon. It's like, no, I didn't. It's like the way that he says like, what's up? I said like, what's up in like one video, and like, you're copying Peter McKinnon. I was like, I always say what's up in my video. Like, what's up?
You can't say what's up anymore.
I can't say what's up anymore.
Fun fact, I used to say that when I started YouTube like 5, 6 years ago. I used to actually go like, what's up, guys? And I stopped doing that, but I guarantee you, if I start implementing that again, people will say like, you're copying. But I used to do the whole hand motion, like, "What's up, guys?" like that.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, whoa, I'm not even gonna.
Maybe Peter copied you.
Maybe you know what, Peter, if you're watching this, let me know.
Yeah. I think though early on it's okay to copy other people, and like that's what I did. It was my friends that were really good, people that I had seen on YouTube early on, and I'm like, wow, this is amazing. Let me just try to mimic that video. Let me shoot footage in my backyard like that person shot. And then eventually you got to develop your own style. So it's like, yeah, you can use that in the beginning. Because nobody's watching. You know what I mean? The first video you upload, unless you get really lucky, nobody's probably gonna watch it. But eventually you got to develop your own style, and nobody's gonna watch your stuff unless you're bringing something different to the table.
And then you start overthinking things too much because it's like, my quality's not good enough. Oh my gosh, like my color grade's not good. And then you're spending hours and hours. And the reality of it is that people just want to see you. People want to see you for who you are, and people want to see your style, your reviews. They want to see, come on, Jason, like I want to see the next camera that you come out. They don't really care about that your style is similar to Peter McKinnon or anybody else's. They're subscribed because they like you. So tip is just don't get caught up in the noise, build content, and I think it'll all just kind of fall into place.
Can I ask a question? Yeah. Because a lot of times we get caught up on vanity metrics and like the number of subscribers that you have. And I think this is especially a good conversation for people who are just getting into it. Like I know when I first started, I wasn't even uploading to YouTube. My audience was my family and friends, and I just really loved it. But then when we come onto YouTube, there all of a sudden is this pressure to have to build up a subscriber count. Like, do you guys have a number in your head? Are you satisfied with where you're at? Are you happy with where you're at? Do you feel like there's a number that you need to achieve before you can say, okay, good, now I'm done. I don't need to grow anymore?
I'll tell you this real quick. For me at least, I'm happy that I can wake up every day, not have to go to a job. No offense for anybody that has a job. No, because here's the thing. Some people might take that as offense. Like, oh, it's okay. Like,
just start and know how to craft.
Like for example, it seems like you have a cool job. Like that would be awesome. I mean, if I wasn't doing YouTube, I would love to be working somewhere related to like anything related to film. But to me, it's like being able to provide for my family, being able to just do what I want every single day. Like, if you guys want to go to Hawaii tomorrow and do this again, let's go ahead and do it. You know what I mean? Like, that's the
I don't
idea.
think there's a YouTube space in Hawaii.
Well, we're just doing it by the beach. Come
Okay,
on, why
that's
would
fine.
you want to do it? But,
Fire pit.
to me, it's like that. To me, in itself, is success. And I know a lot of friends of mine who have 50,000 subscribers, right around 50,000, and they do this for a living. So I don't get caught up in the whole I have to have 1 million to monetize or make money. I think that as long as for me, like I said, wake up and I love what I do. Like this puts a smile on my face. Like making videos, I'm happy doing. Like I wouldn't want to do anything else. Like growing up, I have always wanted to be a director. I wanted to shoot a movie. I mean, this is as close as we'll get, you know? I'll shoot my own little movies, and to get paid for what we do, I'm living a dream. That's just for me. That's my whole
Yeah, I think the subscriber count thing is an interesting topic because people think if they get to a certain number, they assume that equals a certain amount of money. And some people get above 100,000 and they don't have ads on. So it's like, because that's their choice. And I make a full-time living making videos, and I won't make a YouTube video for 6 to 8 weeks sometimes because I do client work. So it's like, when you dive into how someone makes money, that's when you can see like, oh, the subscriber count really matters. Is there a number for me? No, because I've been on the internet with blogs or podcasts or doing other stuff for a long enough time that I know that whatever metric you're tracking, whatever that goal is, as soon as you hit it, you're going to want to double it. You're going to want to go to the next one. And so I don't really care about that stuff as much. It's exciting. That means more people have the potential to see my stuff. It means I get to unlock the YouTube space, or like someone might take me more seriously, just like in a more expensive camera. Like if you go to VidCon and you have like 4 subscribers, like I'm not going to talk to you. No, I'm just kidding. I'll talk to all of you. But
no, I love this metric though too of like it's not the number, and I think this is something that all of us are trying to get to the place to be, where you can make a living making your own videos, executing on your own creative vision. I feel like, and that's where we should try to get. And it's like once you reach that place, it doesn't matter what the numbers are. And like you could probably have 5,000 subscribers on YouTube and still make a full-time living.
Yeah, and it just gets better as you continue to grow. Like I said, a lot of my friends that have 50,000, they do this for a living, full-time living, and they live very well. And the only thing that this does is the more subscribers they get, the better off they're going to be. So it doesn't get any worse, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
it just keeps getting better and better.
Yeah, and to the effect of like getting more money. For me, it's not exactly more money, then I can buy more stuff and I can live like a more upscale lifestyle.
Start flexing, bro.
Ooh, I can hire a personal trainer to work out for me.
No, I mean flexing like money. You know,
that too.
like that little girl.
Check out this new camera, guys.
Yeah, but like for me, it's really about being able to invest in the videos that I'm making. It's like then you can hire more people, you can create bigger, crazier ideas and execute on them. Like that's what money is going to allow you to do.
How would you know that your videos are making an impact? A positive impact or negative impact? Like
I know that my videos make a negative financial impact on people's lives when they tell me they buy a camera.
There you go.
But hopefully a positive, creative, maybe they start a business.
Is there some sort of metric that you would base that off of? Is there some sort of statistic that you guys look at?
Personal emails sometimes?
Yeah, I was going to say that. I get people sending me Instagram direct messages saying, I love what you do. You've inspired me. Like I picked up my camera. Like to me, honestly, that is more important, that I know that I'm impacting somebody's life rather than the whole money thing. Like, yeah, everybody wants money. It's cool, but it's more important that, like you said, you build yourself as a person and you're really trying to help others out. And that's one thing I do, and anybody that's watching this, like you can reach out to me and I will respond to you. Like I'm not like other YouTubers that have so many subscribers and they're just like, I see this a lot. 1, maybe 2 comments and that's it. No, if you go to my videos, I try to comment everybody, unless you're like a troll. But I try to comment.
Then it's
everybody.
an upside down smiley face.
Right, exactly. But especially if you like reach me like on Instagram, which I feel it's more personal, or an email, I will definitely reply back. And a lot of times people tell me like, Armand, they write these like long paragraphs, like a whole story, like I want to shoot this, like what would you recommend? And I'll sit there and reply, spend a whole hour writing back. That's just, I don't know.
I don't know if you noticed this, but you're building a legacy.
Thank you.
Your YouTube channel, like it's gonna be there forever.
Yeah.
Unless you literally take it down, but that's a legacy.
Right.
You're gonna be in the history books, or the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The YouTube history.
The Wikipedias.
Yeah.
We need to start an IMDb for YouTubers.
That would be interesting to see collaborations and
Right.
that sort of thing. So are there any other metrics that, like what he said, like that you guys, or even going into, I'm going to make a video, what do you think about to be like, reverse engineering a successful video?
That's a tough question.
Yeah, I like for my audience specifically, I know what would resonate really well. If I put minimalism in the title, it's just gonna go bonkers.
Because
Let me go change my
your other videos,
my title right now.
Yeah.
Because your other videos about that topic have done well.
Yeah, because and I mean, anytime I have some kind of minimalism-related theme video, or if it's about like happiness and money and well-being, these kind of things, they tend to do very well, and you can just see it just kind of track and explode from the very beginning. So I kind of have an intuition about that, and for me, it's a balance of the two. Like one, I really enjoy talking about minimalism and simple living, so I do want to talk about that, but I do want to also provide my audience with what they expect and the value that they want. So it's a balance of like that. I'll create some minimalism videos, but then also I'll talk about creativity or filmmaking or whatever that I'm really passionate about, and it may get a fraction of the views or a fraction of the comments, but that's cool because I feel like you can't just try to grow an audience. That shouldn't be your only goal, is like, oh, this is going to do well, so I better make this video.
Do you ever look at your like to dislike ratio at all? Or
Yeah, I mean, like I wish I could say that, oh, I don't look at any of those metrics. I don't care what it, but you do, and I think that generally they hover around the same, although I think it's a good indicator because there's some videos where I have one that's about paying off my student loan debt. I had like $100,000 in student loan debt, and I paid off in about 4 years. Wow. And it was...
Hey, congrats, man.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Yeah, that was like huge.
Wow.
Honestly, that was my driving force and the reason why I like really got into freelance and building my business was to
That's amazing,
get out of that, to have that freedom. So I made a video about it, and like the video could have been better. And I think that maybe I could have delivered better on what I said was in the title. The like to dislike wasn't crazy disproportionate, you know what I mean? It's not like 50-50 or anything, but it was a little bit more dislikes than the normal videos I post. So for me, it was kind of like, I could have done better. I could have provided exactly what I said I was providing in the title and thumbnail, and I think that's important because it's very easy to do clickbait posts and just get a bunch of likes.
Right.
So it's like we want to make sure that we're actually providing the value that we say we're going to provide.
Well, and Greg, when you're doing new camera stuff, you know that stuff is going to be relevant and current and like hot. So how do you choose what topics to make? Do you look at what other people have already made? Do you try to find unique ways to position it?
It's tricky to figure out because we get such like an influx of new gear. So like, I mean, my main focus is usually around stuff that I'm interested in because I can just talk about it easier and give better samples, and I usually actually go out and use that stuff on shoots. But usually, like, yeah, the test stuff does really good. Just people know it's like very clinical. It's not super scientific, but it's like the same thing, and you can
Just
go
like
and
the
you can.
low light test that he was talking about.
I love his stuff, by the way. Like, I feel like he offers a lot of unique things, like his, highlight recovery test and stuff like
Yeah, the
that.
exposure
Like, nobody
recovery
really
stuff.
does that. I love his stuff. Like when a new camera comes out, I'm waiting for you to do that.
Appreciate it, yeah. But that's one of the things is like the newest camera comes out, like that's where the hype is. So we kind of get on those like hype trains of like, oh, this is what people are searching for. So let's post something about that, which isn't always like the best way to do it because you're just kind of getting on that train. But it does help drive some traffic to look at your other videos that are maybe more educational or like
That's true.
technique centric instead of just driving on like the new product.
I feel like that is a necessity. You have to talk about the current trend for new people to kind of like subscribe and follow you to see your other stuff. So I feel like that's a necessity.
What's the consistency look like in terms of like audience interaction? Because I know we can look at some people like Peter McKinnon or Casey Neistat, whatever, the guys that are at the top of getting traction and audience views. And it seems like a lot of theirs are pretty consistent, where it's just like, doesn't matter what kind of video it is.
Yeah,
It's like
like Casey's
300,000,
like million, yeah.
Exactly.
I think 1.5 million.
Yeah.
2 million.
Right. There's like it seems to be around the same level. But then I notice for my videos, it's like one video might have 10,000 and then just kind of cap right there. And then the next video might have 100,000 views. Like, how do you guys see the videos that you upload?
That happens to me all the time. But I think it's because I'm all over the place. I'm not consistent in terms of like, remember I talked about tech? That means phones, a lot of smartphones, computers, and then there's like the film world. Like those two kind of don't really intertwine. But to me, it's like I also want to do stuff that excites me. And I want people that follow me obviously have this similar passion for cars, tech, and film. So if you like cars, tech, and film, shameless plug, subscribe.
Yeah, I think it has to do with when you have a channel that's maybe skewed towards more entertainment based and not like an individual product or something that niche, I think you can have a more predictable level of how many views you get
Because like people tuning in, it's like a show.
just
people tune in every week,
especially if
to
you're
see it.
daily or like
And if you're on a
3 or 4
schedule
times a
and
week.
staying consistent too.
Yeah, so people, they're waiting and they will watch every video versus a pick and choose.
Yep.
Because there are YouTubers where I won't watch all their videos and I'll pick and choose.
Yep.
But maybe there's some where I would watch all of them. So, I mean, maybe the goal is to get to every video, but maybe that's not what you want to do. Maybe you want to make videos about cars and different stuff.
Also, there is the algorithm too. Like I just recently uploaded a video for my home surround sound system, which has nothing to do with really so much tech or cameras, and I was blown away by the response. But it could be that industry doesn't have a lot of, I guess, YouTubers. So because of my subscriber base and ranking and all of the tentacles that are around me, maybe it just no. Because right now, I think if you type in like home theater on your YouTube channel, like I'm #1 right now, which is crazy. Like what? Really? And I think it's because I'm probably one of the higher subscriber base YouTubers in that industry. Mm-hmm. So I think it also matters the type of video you're doing, especially for like what we do. I think the competition is getting more fierce. And the tech industry is bad. I mean, there's so many people doing tech videos where it's kind of hard to compete. And that's one of the reasons why I'm kind of shifting more to this. Plus, I enjoy this more.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting to think about how as someone gets really successful doing something in a vlogging format in tech, like not to call them copycats, but they inspire other people to do this same thing and be like, oh, I can do that. I can have my own spin on it. I can grow an audience and I can make a living doing that. So as people break out, it like brings a bunch of people behind them, which is good and bad. But then you have to compete with all those people.
Isn't that how we all started? We probably saw somebody and said, "Oh, I want to do that too."
Yeah, or I think the best one is like, "Oh, I could do that." You know what I mean? Like you see something, you're like, "Well, it's not that good. Like I could definitely do that." But then when you try it, you're like, "Oh, this is hard. This is pretty tough."
Oh yeah.
Take 10.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the first YouTube video I made was because I couldn't find a video about that specific piece of equipment.
That's awesome.
That helped me enough. I don't know why did you guys start making YouTube videos?
Similar reasons. I mean, like I was like 2 years ago, Sony Alpha cameras weren't that popular. I mean, like the A7S II was like blowing up in the filmmaking community because of the low light. But not a lot of people were talking about the A7R II, which is the 42 megapixel camera, can shoot 4K for both full frame and crop frame, whereas the A7S II is kind of capped only to full frame for 4K. So not a lot of people were talking about that, and I saw massive potential in the video capabilities of the A7R II. So I figured, hey, why not make a video, kind of like contribute back to the community, and see where that takes me. And then I'm in this chair right now, so.
You made it.
Must have done something right. How about you? Why did you start?
I couldn't find a video on how to balance a Steadicam Merlin. So
Is that the weird one with the
the weird,
counterweight that has, like,
the
a
weird
curve?
little curve,
It's like the hand and then like the crescent moon around it.
Exactly, yeah. So I had a knockoff version of that, and I made a tutorial on how to balance one, and it's the same exact designs. They copied Steadicam to the T. So I made a video on that, and then apparently a bunch of Steadicam ops watched it, and I got a lot of views on that, and then I just started producing like glide cam and Steadicam tutorials,
Nice.
and that's what got me into it.
Mine's probably actually a little different than everybody else's because I'm doing it for a business. So I work for Lens Pro full time, and I create YouTube videos and content. So we came from it because we wanted to be more than just like a place to get gear. We wanted to be a resource. So we do it as an educational aspect to like train people on these things to maybe bring down the intimidation factor of some of these like higher end cameras. It's like, it's not that hard to use. You can do it. Here's some things on tips and tricks, how to use it, what's the best way to use it, what you'd use it for. And we come at it from like that aspect of like, we just want to be an education source rather than just like a place that's, hey, here's your thing, now you're on your own, go have at it.
What do you guys recommend for someone that wants to YouTube full-time or make videos full-time, whether that's client work like some of us do or have done, or want to do YouTube full-time? What does it take? What kind of early steps and advice and timeline would you recommend?
It's so different when I started compared to what it is now. I'll give you a really quick TLDR version of how I got started. I started as a joke. So, no, but I'm gonna tell you. So it was all a joke. So basically, I've always owned Android phones. And everybody kept telling me, get an iPhone. It's so much better. Get an iPhone. Finally caved in, got an iPhone. And the experience was not exactly what I thought it was. I'm like, what are you guys talking about? This thing sucks. So I kept going into battles with people, like, remember Kermit the Frog when you see that meme? Yeah, it was like exactly the same thing. I got tired of doing that. So you know what? I'm gonna put out a video so I don't have to talk to these people anymore. I could just show them the video and they could just shut up. I was like, that's it. So I grabbed the iPhone, grabbed the Android phone, and I did an Android versus iOS. That was one of the very first videos I did. And I did an apples to apples comparison, no pun intended, and then that video went viral. My brother-in-law told me, hey, you can monetize and make money off of that. I'm like, really? How do you do that? He's like, yeah, it's in the settings. You become a partner and they'll pay you. He goes, I make about $100 a month. I have a couple of like car wash videos or something like that. I'm like, oh, that's cool, dude. He's like, yeah, it pays like my DirecTV bill. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. So I turn on monetization. Next month goes by. I did like 2 or 3 videos because people were like, oh, it shows more Android versus iOS. I get a check in the mail from Google. It was $834. See, that's not gonna happen today. So I was like, whoa, this must be a fluke. There's no way I just got paid $800. There must be a mistake. Obviously I deposited, but I didn't spend the money. Next month goes by, $950. I was like, okay, this is interesting. So I was like, okay, I'll keep putting out more videos because people, oh, how did you theme your Android phone? Like, how did you do this? So I just basically read the comments. So if you want to start YouTube, read the comments, and whatever the audience wants to see, they'll tell you. So I just kept making videos from what people were, I was kind of feeding off the energy. Next month goes by, 1,100. Next month goes by. I started in April of 2014, I think it was. By the end of that year, not a whole year, by the end of that year, because I started in April, by December, I was already making $4,000 a month on AdSense, okay? I basically told my wife, I think I want to do this full time. The thing is, then the tides shifted because you don't make that much anymore on AdSense. So it got to the point where there were some tough times on YouTube. There was like, it's like a roller coaster ride. Yeah. And then I talked to a friend. He's like, dude, you're doing it wrong. I'm like, what are you talking about doing it wrong? He's like, yeah, there's sponsored deals. Like, what do you mean sponsored deals? He goes, yeah, when people reach out to you, they want you to review a product. You can get paid for that. Like, how? And then he started explaining the process. Got an email, replied back, yeah, we'll pay you money. Really? And then that opened up another whole can of worms. Then I started noticing YouTubers saying, I'll leave a link down below, leave a link down below. I'm like, why are they doing that? Like, what's the purpose? I actually found out through for myself that there was Amazon affiliate money. And I was like, interesting. So I signed up, kind of a similar story. Signed up for Amazon affiliate. My very first, and this was a half-month Amazon. Like, I started in like the 14th, 15th of October of that. I don't remember the year. So it was only 2 weeks. I get a check for $2,000 from Amazon. I was like, whoa, like this is insane. So yeah, leave a link down below, bye. Next month was like $3,000. So to answer your question, and I went through a whole thing, it's always shifting, it's always changing. What I tell you guys today will probably change next month because YouTube's changing. There's more creators in this space. There's so much going on that you just have to adapt. But I think bottom line, I think as long as you're consistent, as long as you're passionate with what you do, things will just kind of fall into place.
Well, and you're diversifying.
Right, and diversifying.
You listed just 3 in the first year, 3 ways that you were making money. And I think us here, we're diversifying, whether that's combining YouTube with client work or
exactly.
I have some online courses and I have affiliate income and so you could do ad sets. So like the standard YouTuber doesn't make money one way because it's not safe.
Exactly. I'll tell you my biggest mistake though, if you can learn from this. My biggest mistake was only providing to one social platform, not caring about everything else. Despite of what everybody says, oh, Facebook sucks and blah, blah, blah. Trust me, they're not going anywhere. I would still cater to them and still build an audience in Facebook because you never know. The more, I look at it like this, it's like an octopus. The more tentacles you have out there, the more opportunities you have to grab it. So for me, trust me, you want to build all of your social platforms. In fact, you almost want to build your own website and have people go to your website and even have your own videos on your website. Because if YouTube decides to pull the plug, at least people know where to find you. And your website, all your video, all your stuff, all your posts, build yourself a website because nobody can take your website away.
God, I hope that never happens though.
I would say...
I got to sell my Lambo. Just kidding. I don't own a Lambo.
I would say if somebody's trying to make money on YouTube or make a full-time living on YouTube, they would also be just as happy getting paid to make videos or to make a living making videos. And I think, to go to your point about client work, that's what worked out best for me. And that was the easiest way to start making money. I think probably your case is an exception of how quickly it started coming in.
Right.
And I mean, it is very challenging to build an audience today because of all the noise. It's not as challenging to get paid to make a video, whether it's wedding videos or whether you're doing bar mitzvahs. Like, I've done so many videos that may not appear sexy and people aren't running to go do those jobs, but they pay pretty well. And I was able to pay off all my student loans in 4 years by just grinding it out and making these, from wedding videos to the local TV commercials to eventually working with startups and being able to charge a little bit more money for videos. I found that for me, that was the best route to go, because then I could pay off my student loans. I could start to actually earn a living to where I could live on my own, move out of my parents' house. And then from that point was, okay, let me transition. Let me see if I can actually build an audience. Now that I have some money, now that I have these skills, and it's always something you can fall back on. If for whatever reason what I'm currently doing doesn't work out, I can no longer make YouTube videos or I can't make a living on it, then I'll pick up client work and I'll go back to it. I still got all those connections.
He's a great example. He's doing weddings.
Right.
And as a social influencer, I think that's huge because he's leveraging that to get more clients.
Yeah.
So, he's laughing because he knows it's the truth. Yeah.
It's true. I get Uncle Bob coming, hey man, I watched your video. I was like, wait, I'm shooting a wedding right now. How do you know me?
Yeah, so for him, I mean, that's a smart way to do it. And I think anybody starting off doing film stuff, there's so many opportunities out there. You can go out and start doing real estate videos. You can there's a lot of restaurants out there that might need a video. So if you just position yourself, if you use your creative craft and your skills and the tools that you have, there's so many opportunities. It's just a lot of people probably I don't want to say they're lazy, but they're just they need somebody to kind of push them and direct them. Hey, this is what you should be doing. But don't always look at YouTube as your number one source. I think we all can agree with that. But yeah, he's actually a great example of leveraging his. And I think even if he becomes a YouTuber with 1 million plus, I'm sure he'll still probably do weddings, but he'll probably be charging like 20 grand or something. So, Jason Vong style.
I think that's a good point of, you built chops, you built the skills over that. And now someone might look at your YouTube channel and they'll be like, oh, you only started a year ago. Your videos are so good. They're so polished. It's like, I've been doing this for almost a decade and I got paid to do it before I ever did YouTube, to do the videos I wanted to make in my style. So I think that's a kind of a good lesson to wrap up with.
So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Also, I will leave all the links down below to all of these awesome creators, and make sure to follow them. Thanks again for watching, and you guys will catch me in the next one. Adios.